One case has haunted Sheriff Mike Nielsen for the last 23 years. It all began on this rural highway in Boone County, Indiana.
I remember seeing the page that they were dispatched to Interstate 65 and State Road 47 in our county. And a local farmer actually found the body of a young female.
Farmer was farming in this little strip right here, and as he came down close to the fence line, he saw a body laying over there next to the reeds, and he noticed it, thought it was odd, thought it was out of the ordinary, contacted law enforcement. Officers arrived to the scene here and pulled right up there, and the body was found.
So all the way down there?
Yeah. As investigators, we believe, you know, you can pull up right here on the edge, and that the body was drugged down about halfway down and then just tossed. She was dumped like a piece of trash. I mean, she's laying face down in a side ditch with water, unclothed, and just thrown out like trash. Like you got on that entrance ramp, you rolled down the window and you threw a cup out, and it rolls down to the bottom of the ditch. That's what somebody did to her.
The dead woman's face was so badly decomposed, she was unrecognizable to anyone who might have known her. Did you have any idea how she was killed?
No. She, you know, you can speculate since there's not a gunshot wound, there's no knife wounds, you know. Was she strangled? That appears to be maybe the most obvious. But, you know, at this point and at that point, we still did not know an exact cause of death.
Whether you're trying to solve a mystery in a big city or a small town, it doesn't matter. That drive, that determination to seek justice for those victims courses through your veins the same way, even when you don't know that victim's name.
Our initial investigation, we believe that she was anywhere between 17 and 24 years old. She was partially clothed, wearing a tank top, a yellow tank top, and she had two tattoos that were very distinguishable. And one of those was Mom, and we done everything we could looking through missing person files, looking through cases in Indianapolis. We thought it might have been a local case, and we were just unable to produce anything whatsoever that would help us in any leads.
At this point, were you thinking, what were some of the theories kind of coming up that could have happened to her?
We started looking at truck stops. Could this have been somebody picked up? Could this have been a prostitute maybe that was picked up and then discarded there, depending on the circumstances? So we started hitting a lot of the bigger truck stops in the Indianapolis area and in mid-state area here just to try to see if anybody. We flooded that area with flyers and just trying to get the information out to the workers there. Hey, did you see somebody hanging out on the lot that matching this description? Without any ID,
the sheriff's department gave her the name Jane Doe, hoping someone would claim her body. Sadly, it never happened.
After about a month and no solid leads or anything, she was buried out in what we call is basically our pauper cemetery, just right outside the jail.
Jane Doe's corpse laid in this grave for a year before law enforcement exhumed her body to possibly identify Jane Doe.
We reached out and found out resources at Michigan State University had somebody there, a professor there that was working on facial recognition or facial reconstruction. And so we exhumed her at that point in time to get the skull, and they actually did a clay model of what we suspected or what we felt she should or would have looked like.
Now, investigators had a face and hoped that someone, a family member or friend, would give this young woman a name or a clue as to who killed her.
We took that and put it in our lobby, and that had been in our lobby up until about 2 years ago, and we never did get any leads off of that. Every once in a while, we'll get a department call thinking that we may have identified her, but after running some tests and talking about it, they never have panned out.
It looked like Jane Doe would never have a name or justice. Then, out of the blue, one woman steps forward to help finally solve this decades-long mystery.
I was actually watching the evening news one day, and I saw Sheriff Nielsen talking about investigating some cold cases that are currently unsolved in Boone County. And I live in Boone County, so I thought it would be a very interesting endeavor.
Dr. Krista Latham is a forensic anthropologist at the University of Indianapolis. She volunteered her expertise to help close this very cold case.
I believe very strongly in dignity in life and dignity in death. And part of dignity in death is having a name.
She reached out to us saying, hey, let us help you. Let us do whatever we can.
Jane Doe's body was exhumed for a second time and handed over to the good doctor.
After we retrieved her from the ground, they took her with them down to the University of Indianapolis and separated everything out to bones and everything else. Once they got that done, then they lay her out in every piece all the way down to the fingernails.
And then our next step is to do a skeletal inventory.
Dr. Latham demonstrated this to me with a skeletal mock-up.
In addition to looking for diseases or any healed trauma that might help tell us who she is, we're also looking for any trauma that might have contributed to her death. So we're similarly going to look at every single bone in the body to look for any evidence of trauma.
Dr. Latham also believes that one of the keys to finding out more about Jane Doe is through isotope analysis.
Isotopes are molecules, so like oxygen or nitrogen, molecules that get incorporated into your bones and teeth after you eat or drink certain items. So for example, the water that you drink from your faucet has oxygen in it. That oxygen will get incorporated into your bones and teeth. Now the signature of that oxygen is going to be different across the planet. So potentially we can look at the isotopes that are in her body, and that will give us an indication of where she was getting her drinking water or where she was getting her food.
Even with all the resources and new allies, Sheriff Nielsen still has not been able to solve this case that has haunted him for 23 years. He desperately needs to give this Jane Doe a real name and is asking for the public's help. What do you hope Crime Watch Daily viewers can do to help you finally close this?
By getting this on national television with a show such as yours, to let people know 20 plus years ago, maybe they saw this girl somewhere, whether it was at their house or whether it was at the school, walking on a street, just something that jogged their memory. And I believe we're going to at least identify her and possibly solve this case.
And Crime Watch Daily has just received the results of the forensic analysis from the University of Indianapolis. The scientists there have been able to narrow down the state where this Jane Doe may have been born. Now they include New Mexico, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Maine, Vermont, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania. It was also determined that in the final weeks of Jane Doe's life, she was in parts of western and southwestern Indiana before her body was then discovered in central Indiana. They hope this data will help law enforcement focus their search on finally giving this Jane Doe her real name.